Leo Mills. Dame Gwyneth Jones. Τον κύριο Κάτωνα. Τον Μύρτο Λογιάδη. Τον Εγκύμο Ταβό και τον Καρλ Χάνστερ. Από τους διοργανωτές η κυρία Λούλη Ψυχούλη, μαέστρος και πρόεδρος του Διεθνούς Καλλιτεχνικού Κέντρου Αθηναίου, και η κυρία Στέλλα Αγγελέτου, η οποία είναι διευθύντρια παραγωγής του Ιδρύματος Μιχάλης Κακογιάννης. Η κυρία Δάφνη Μιλτιάδου θα μας βοηθήσει στη μετάφραση. Και εγώ ό,τι μπορώ θα κάνω από εδώ που είμαι. Λοιπόν, δεν είναι μαζί μας ο Μύρονας ο Μιχαηλίδης, καλλιτεχνικός διευθυντής της Εθνικής Λυρικής Σκηνής, ο οποίος είχε ένα πρόβλημα. Αν καταφέρει να ολοκληρώσει τις εργασίες του, θα έρθει έστω και καθυστερημένα, αλλά εμείς ξεκινούμε και το λόγο έχει η Λούλη Ψυχούλη, πρόεδρος του Διεθνούς Καλλιτεχνικού Κέντρου Αθηναίου, το οποίο ξέρετε πολύ καλά ότι από το 1975 έχει ξεκινήσει αυτούς τους διαγωνισμούς. Το 1974.
Καλημέρα σας. Στα γεγονότα.
Συγγνώμη, Λούλη. Χρειάζεται κάποιος μετάφραση από τα ελληνικά στα αγγλικά. Από τα αγγλικά στα ελληνικά έχετε ανάγκη από μετάφραση. Αν υπάρξει τέτοιο θέμα, σας παρακαλώ ενημερώστε μας, γιατί η Δάφνη είναι εδώ για να μας βοηθήσει. Λοιπόν, άρα μεταφράσεις από τα ελληνικά στα αγγλικά. Παρακαλώ.
Έλεγα, μετά το καλωσόρισμα, πως προσωπικά εγώ στα γεγονότα που φαίνονται όχι αληθινά, δεν μου είναι εύκολο να τα σχολιάσω. Και εννοώ συγκεκριμένα την επανασύνδεση του Grand Prix ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ μετά από 2 χρόνια σιωπής λόγω των περιστάσεων. Έτσι λοιπόν, το μόνο που μου είναι δυνατόν να πω είναι να ευχαριστώ στον Θεό, πρώτη μεσολάβηση, στο Ίδρυμα Κακογιάννης, στο ΕΣΠΑ και σε όλους εσάς που θελήσατε και πάλι και μαζί μας να ενώσουμε αυτό το ρήγμα. Απέναντι σας έχετε, δεν θα έλεγα τις μεγαλύτερες, αλλά θα έλεγα από τις μεγαλύτερες διασημότητες του λυρικού θεάτρου, του Διεθνούς Λυρικού Θεάτρου, οι οποίοι είναι έτοιμοι να απαντήσουν σε όλες τις σοβαρές ερωτήσεις σας. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Κυρία Στέλλα Αγγελέτου, από το Ίδρυμα Μιχάλης Κακογιάννης.
Ms. Psycholi just thanked everyone for being here, and it's a great honor for the Athenaeum and the Foundation of Kakogyannis to have all these exceptional judges here, especially after 3 years of silence. And thank you for all being here. So, President,
Καλησπέρα και από μένα.
Θα είμαι πολύ σύντομη γιατί νομίζω ότι το σημαντικό είναι να ακούσουμε την κυρία Ψυχούλη και την Επιτροπή που μας τιμούν με την παρουσία του σήμερα εδώ. Εγώ θέλω απλώς να πω ότι η δυνατότητα να γίνει πραγματικότητα ο διαγωνισμός, ο 38ος, γίνεται χάρη στη σύμπραξη δύο φορέων του Διεθνούς Καλλιτεχνικού Κέντρου Ατενέου, που έβαλε την τεχνογνωσία και την καλλιτεχνική γνώση και την εμπειρία τόσων χρόνων, και του Ιδρύματος Μιχάλης Κακογιάννης, που έχει την διοικητική και διαχειριστική επάρκεια και τα μέσα υλοποίησης. Και βέβαια χάρη στο ΕΣΠΑ, το ΕΣΠΑ Αττική του 2007-2013 και τον άξονα η ανάπτυξη και βελτίωση της ποιότητας ζωής και τη διαχειριστική αρχή, τον κύριο Νταΐ και τον κύριο Μακαρίτη, τους οποίους ευχαριστούμε. Και θέλω απλώς να πω ότι για μας είναι πολύ σημαντικό, γιατί αυτό που κάνουμε τόσα χρόνια, δηλαδή την ανάδειξη νέων δυνάμεων, μας δίνει τη δυνατότητα το Ατενέου να το κάνουμε και στον τομέα της λυρικής τέχνης πια. Να βγουν από εδώ να παρουσιαστούν εδώ κάποιοι νέοι πολύ σημαντικοί καλλιτέχνες. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Πριν συνεχίσουμε, να πω ότι σήμερα εδώ, εκτός από τους φίλους δημοσιογράφους, έχουμε εκπρόσωπο του Υπουργείου Πολιτισμού, τον κύριο Λένο, ο οποίος είναι ο Διευθυντής του Σύγχρονου Πολιτισμού και τον ευχαριστούμε πολύ για αυτό. Επίσης, έχουμε το Γαλλικό Ινστιτούτο, την κυρία Οριό και την κυρία Στρατηγού. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Και το Διεθνές Κέντρο του Ινστιτούτου Θεάτρου. Θα κάνουμε μια μετάφραση.
Yes, Ms. Stella has just said that it's wonderful that the two centers, the Kakoyannis Foundation with its means and the Athenaeum with its knowledge and expertise in the area of the arts, have helped and have made this reality. And ESPA, am I right? Yes. So yes, I think covers it.
Παρακαλώ την κυρία Στιούντε να πάρει το λόγο. Η κυρία Στιούντε είναι η πρόεδρος της Διεθνούς Κριτικής μας Επιτροπής.
I would like Mr. to speak.
I will speak. I have the pleasure of being the president of this jury for the third year now. It's always an honor to come back to Athens, to be asked to hold this position, to have the responsibility of keeping this a very clean, clear, honest competition. I think this is one of the things that this competition can be very proud of, should be proud of. It's a great honor, not only because of these reasons I've mentioned, but the fact that this is a competition in honor of the name of Maria Callas, of the great Maria Callas, is a personal honor for me. Maria Callas, as all of you well know, is not only one of the most excellent singers and artists, not only of the last century, but of all time, but in my opinion, is still in many, many ways one of the most modern artists. She based her artistry on traditional values, but was always interested in renewing in her own very personal and distinct way. And I think that this is a very good basis for not only artists today, but for future artists. So, in my opinion, Maria Callas and her artistic values will never be old or forgotten.
I'm very happy to be here this year. I have been invited on many occasions in past years, but have been unable to come. I adore Athens and Greece in particular, and very often come for holidays. And I think it is so wonderful that we are having this competition to celebrate the memory of Maria Callas has now again started this year after being absent for some years. It is always very interesting and wonderful to hear new voices, and we've been listening for the past 2 days now. We will listen again today. Obviously, in such competitions where you have a large number of singers, there are sometimes some singers who are not so good, but we have also had some singers who are very good, and I'm sure that by the time we come to the final concert, it will be a very exciting evening, that we will hear many lovely voices from all over the world. It is very important that young singers have an opportunity to be able to show themselves internationally, so that they can be given engagements by managements and opera houses like Mr. Kattener from the Royal Opera, which happened to be also a house where I sang for many, many years, and I have many, many happy memories. It is vitally important, especially today, that we should take care of our singers, because there is a very great lack of dramatic voices. And I think this is because young singers are very often exposed too early. They try to sing dramatic roles because there are no dramatic singers at the moment, or very few. And so they think that they can enter into the dramatic category of things like Brünnhilde and Isolde far too early, which means that their careers are snapped in the bud, and we sometimes lose the possibility of having really good voices for the future. One should make sure that when young singers begin their careers, that they are not allowed to sing things that are not suitable for their voices, that they should first sing the more lyrical roles for 10, 15 years before they enter into the very dramatic things. And I think that we should do everything to nurture and help young singers, especially with their vocal technique, because quite a lot of them today, in the age of internet and where things are moving very fast, I have the feeling that a lot of young singers are much too busy and waste far too much time with things like Facebook and Twitter, instead of studying their text and really preparing themselves and having discipline and working hard. Very often they think that it's a very easy matter, but for an artist it is a great responsibility that we have to be dedicated to our art. And I feel very privileged that I actually saw Maria Callas perform, and that I saw her performing in Tosca in Covent Garden, and also later in her career. And then I also sang in this same performance, which she had been singing in for many years with Tito Gobbi. And somehow this remained with me, because seeing her, she was such an incredible person on the stage. She had such personality and such communication and vibrance, so that one can never forget. I always, when I put down the candles, I could just remember how she did it, and how her eyes and her face and her posture and her movements and her wonderful voice. And what I admired from Maria Callas is that she dared to take risks, that she used her voice in a way to really express the text, even if it meant that sometimes she produced a note that some critics would say would be ugly. But in some occasions this is very important, that one does this. You cannot always sing with just beautiful tones. You have to take risks. And this is something which makes her so memorable as an artist. And we should all be grateful to her and for the heritage that she has left to us. And I hope that the young singers who are performing here take trouble to listen to her recordings and to try to follow in her steps with the same devotion and the same dedication to their art, that they are able then to let opera continue in a way that it should continue, that we are moved and that the words have meaning, full meaning, so that their expression comes through to us and we are uplifted and can rejoice in the joy of music.
Τα βιογραφικά όλα, τα αναλυτικά, θα τα βρείτε μέσα στο φάκελο, είναι και στα ελληνικά και στα αγγλικά.
Good morning. I think that Gwyneth has said so much that I would not only agree with, but endorse and over again. We have had careers and we've been very fortunate to have them, and now we reach out and say to the young people, come, let us help you go along. It's most important that that contact remains between those that are coming and those of us that are on our way out. One of the wonderful things about Maria Callas, and I had the opportunity to see her rehearse, is that she always brought truth to what she did. When she made what we call an ugly sound, it was because it was an ugly word or an ugly feeling behind it. It was never just ugly. It always had something to say. And if you learn just that, and it came from the bottom of her body, from the bottom of her heart. She didn't sing with her throat only, it was the entire body involved and the head. I think watching her was taking lessons all by itself. And then of course being able to sit in the audience and enjoy the results of her hard work was just a privilege, and we won't see it often. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. But you as young artists must take up the responsibility and thrive for your best, not to copy Maria, not to copy anybody else who's been on the stage, but to bring your truth to your characters. And not only do you have to be a little bit careful about your repertoire if you're singing Brunhilde, if you're not ready to sing Mimi or Selina, you might have to still wait until the voice is and the body is ready. Nothing is wrong with waiting and using the time carefully, studying the languages, studying, knowing what you're saying and why you're saying it, and finding your truth. And I don't think a bigger gift can be given to the world than from yourself, which means also what I hope we did, give from ourselves to you. Thank you.
Off the record τελείως. Η σύζυγός του είναι Ελληνίδα. Δεύτερη γενιά, αλλά Ελληνίδα.
Yes, good morning. Well, one problem in being later in speakers is that all the right stuff has been said. Thank you for laughing. And I would agree with everything my colleagues have said, so I won't go there. I'm especially thrilled to be here, Athens, Greece, ancient Greece. I'm a Greek in law. That is, I'm married into a Greek family. My brother-in-law, my wife's oldest sister's husband from Volos, worked in Athens. They have relatives here. I will meet some of my relatives here in Greece, whom I do not know at this point. Also, one of the few, I think the only opera that Michael Kakoyanis did was Morning Becomes Electra at the Met, and I was fortunate enough to be in that cast. So I spent many weeks, we're talking some years ago, of course, but many weeks with Michael back then. And I remember him as a brilliant stage director, knew him more as a stage director, of course. Having this opportunity, and well, I should say the singers having this opportunity, the singers that are here, having this opportunity for our admittedly shrinking world, or the operatic world, is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we are fighting, I think, to keep passion.
I don't agree
No,
with
I
that.
wouldn't agree either.
No,
It's not shrinking, I think it's growing.
that's
Well,
the problem.
grow-
They must make
That
it
is the
grow.
problem.
You must make it grow.
Well, yes, however, Peter and Gwyneth, if you're talking about record sales, the pop world, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you know, the pop world is what, like 98% of the records, and we have not even 2%. That has shrunk.
But that's always been the case.
That's a problem.
Because there
And-
are other
Right.
media taking over and people.
Well, now we're having a discussion here, and that's okay, but I'm talking about,
Yeah, that's.
the record sales unfortunately keep going. People like КΑΛΛΑΣ, you mentioned Tito Gobi, of course as a baritone, then Gobi was a giant. Their images, and especially ＫΑΛΛΑΣ's image, we're fortunate to have some video of her. Unfortunately, not early on, but later stuff, and everything that Gwyneth said, that Cheryl said, that Martina said, of course is true. What she did with words, you talked about truth, that's absolutely right. Many other things, what she did with words was so special. And I am grateful that, well, I met her once, I never saw her perform, but on film I have seen some of the performances, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to see that, even though I met her only at the Juilliard master classes, those the famous series of classes she did at the Juilliard. I was at one or two of them. We're talking, of course, ancient history here, and I will, at this point, stop and let some others talk, because Peter is anxious.
No, it's just so interesting what you said about the media. Obviously, it's different media now taking over. I'm also an old-fashioned person who wants to have the recording on my shelf, in my hands, and rather a large disc than a small CD. But we have all accept that ways of receiving and experiencing recordings have changed. What is so interesting about Maria Callas, when you look at that picture, she's the only singer who is still marketed in a way as if she was alive today. When you look at those pictures, it's not an ancient historic singer who's long dead or so. She's still presented to the world as somebody who is very much with us and alive. And there is some vibrancy, it's also some clever marketing, but this has to do with her personality, that it has stayed fresh in people's minds, how to listen to her and how to keep her in your mind. This is really unique in that sense. I otherwise don't want to say much about Maria Callas. Wonderful things have been said and all the advice to young singers, but I'm particularly happy that this competition is happening again. I mean, I've been here a number of times in the last 10, 12 years or so. Some important, interesting careers have started after this competition, and then it's almost been killed. A gap of 3.5 years is very bad in our quick-moving time. People forget very quickly, and suddenly it's all gone. And all of you who have, in whatever role, some influence over what happens in the public arena and what happens in a country, keep up your support for cultural initiatives, and let's not things getting lost. You lose them very easily, and you can restart them is so much more difficult. And I hope that next time there will be more publicity, there will be more applications, and it will be get even better. Again, we have some very good singers, but I don't think we have quite enough applications to guarantee a consistently high level. But I'm very enthusiastic about this competition. It's my fourth competition actually this autumn. It's very interesting to see how they basically thrive, but I realize in this country it has been very difficult to drum up the necessary support, but I hope we are on the way up.
Είναι ο διευθυντής της Royal Opera και νομίζω ότι εστίασε πολύ καλά στο πρόβλημα της χώρας, τη κρίση που έχει η χώρα και το πόσο δύσκολα καταφέραμε, αλλά το καταφέραμε να ξεκινήσουμε και πάλι αυτό το διαγωνισμό, έστω και για τους δύο επόμενους, αυτή τη χρονιά το Grand Prix για την όπερα και του χρόνου τον Μάιο το Grand Prix για το πιάνο και ελπίζουμε να καταφέρουμε να έχουμε και τη συνέχεια του στο μέλλον, διότι θεωρούμε ότι αξίζει τον κόπο και βοηθάει τη χώρα, τους νέους καλλιτέχνες και σε τελευταία ανάλυση την τέχνη. Λοιπόν, έχουμε τώρα τον Christian Karlstedt, ο οποίος είναι ο casting manager της όπερας της, από τη Γερμανία.
Yeah, good morning everybody. I'm also very happy and very honored to be here for the first time at this prestigious ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ competition. All my colleagues said so many wonderful things about the competition and about ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ. I think a competition dedicated to ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ is a very good chance for young people, for young singers to start a career. And I'm not sure if it's only the gap of 3.5 years that we haven't not so many applications. I think also the program is very demanding for young singers, which is surely a good thing, but it's very hard for a young singer to do all the requirements which are necessary for this competition. But I think a competition helps young singers to get into the focus of the so-called international opera world and to get engagements abroad. But I think also for the singers who are not able to win a prize, they can learn in the competition what they have to work on when they compete with other singers. I think that's usually very helpful for young singers, and it's a great thing, a competition, and I hope that it will go on for the next years, and then maybe there are more contestants as this year. And I'm very much looking forward to the final, because I'm sure that we will find enough good singers for the final, and it will be a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Θέλω να είναι επίσης διευθυντής της όπερας της Ερφούρτης. Θέλω να πω ότι είναι πολύ σπουδαίο ότι στην Κριτική Επιτροπή υπάρχουν διευθυντές από διάφορες όπερες, γιατί έτσι αποκτούν μια άμεση γνώση και επαφή με τους νέους καλλιτέχνες, το οποίο είναι πολύ βοηθητικό από όλες τις απόψεις. Παρακαλώ.
I would like to say thank you. I would like to say thank you to the two ladies on left and the right for the opportunity to be here and to the immense work to have the middle to make this competition happen. And I'm joining Peter Kattner completely, and for us, I'm able to give work to some young singers, and it's my duty to go to the competition and to hear so a lot of singers as possible, so that I offer my public such more singers as possible. So I'm very happy, and I consider this as my duty as opera manager to be here and to listen. And sometimes you have to listen a lot and a very long time, and I do it really gratefully, and I'm really full of admiration for the people who work in order to create competition and to support this competition. I can imagine the immense long work and to ask the people to give some money for something they cannot much sometimes consider what it is. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. This is my main message.
Και η σειρά του Μίλκου Λογιάδη, του μαέστρου μας.
I will speak in English, suppose. Okay. Good morning. I would like to say that I'm very honored to be in this committee with such great artists, and I just want to tell you some things that I wrote here. The international contest, the Grand Prix Maria Callas, as also the one carrying the name of Dimitris Mitropoulos that no longer takes place, is the big window to the outside world for our upcoming opera singers. The opportunity and the way out for our new artists to compete, meet each other and open a new road to their future course. For this reason it is necessary to support and enhance them with all our strength because they are a big part of our cultural and intellectual asset. The Grand Prix dedicated to Maria Callas has been for 38 years now, an indisputable international artistic event in the field of opera singing and classical music, based on criteria of meritocracy, quality and sensitivity. I wish good luck to all the participants of the 38th Grand Prix Maria Callas.
Να ευχαριστήσουμε όλη την Κριτική Επιτροπή, τα μέλη, για τις σύντομες αυτές δηλώσεις και να ρωτήσω αν θέλετε να ρωτήσετε εσείς κάτι. Παρακαλώ, έχουμε τον κύριο Λουκάκο.
We have Mr. Lukakos for a question.
Thank you. I want to pose a question which touches events of the near past, very near past. It was very interesting to have this little dispute between Mr. Mills and Mr. Katana about the shrinking world of opera, or the opposite. It was just announced 2 days ago that something that personally shocked me, that the mayor of Rome fired en bloc the whole orchestra and chorus of a very historic opera theatre, the Rome Opera, the former Constanzi. And I wonder, I already knew about opera houses having closed down, like the lamented New York City Opera or other institutions. But I want to profit from the experience of such distinguished lyrical artists that have marked with their presence many really great theatres in the world. Can a lyric theatre continue to exist without what I consider its skeleton, that is the collectivity of orchestra and chorus, from where also many singers came out, starting their careers as chorus members? I would very much appreciate some comment from your part. Thank you.
Of course it cannot exist without an orchestra and a chorus, and not just some orchestra and chorus. It's also historically grown. I mean, those people teach each other, they learn over time to play together, to sing together, and you cannot just restart that and throw them all out and maybe get other people for less money or whatever. I think this is an act of barbarism, and I mean, we have seen a lot, fear in Italy in recent years, and this is probably going to continue until some new mood sets in. Yeah, but it's a vulgar way of dealing with cultural life, to put money and interest only on the populist card and basically say, well, 90% of people listen to pop music and that's maybe where some support goes, and opera or classical music is not important. I mean, it is just so blindingly obvious that one shouldn't sort of start throwing insults, but it is amazing how this can go on in a civilized country that has only 2 or 3
musical institutions left that are properly supported and properly run. Sort of La Scala in Milan, the Santa Cecilia in Rome, and maybe one or two of the other theaters. I mean, we hear all the time stories that singers are not being paid, and then singers don't come when they have something better. It's total chaos,
Yes.
and it is a disgrace.
But I still need, there has to be an infusion of some interests, and it will also depend on some new monies to come in and say, we will not accept. Oh, we also need politicians. Oh my God, we need so much that's new, but I'm not sure at this table we're going to solve it or make it work. But what we must do is continue to encourage the young artists to be ready for whenever, and it will happen, to be ready to walk and step into the spot that they need to take for the rest of their lives, and to keep the art form going. Because there's no need to say, well, I'm not going to have a career, so I might as well not work to be the best artist that I can. The time will come when your place will be there for you. You have to be prepared to step into it. But it's at the moment very, very black.
Another sad fact, unfortunately not only in Italy, is that Italy and Germany, the two countries who represent a large chunk of the international repertoire on the stages, Italian and German. Those two countries should produce many wonderful new singers, and there is next to nothing coming out of both of them. And that is really a tragedy. I see it in competitions. There's hardly any participants from those countries, and if they are there, they are not very good. They play no role. Obviously we see a lot of Asians coming, we see lots coming from Russia and the Ukraine and the eastern part of Europe, America sometimes, Japan has disappeared on the other side. It's very interesting to see those fluctuations, but at the moment it's all without Italy and Germany contributing much.
But when it's time to do the performances, it's time then for you to step in. That's all.
Αφού πρώτα πω συγχαρητήρια στην κυρία Ψυχούλη και την κυρία Κουκουράκη γιατί συνεχίζουν μετά από 38 σκληρά χρόνια το διαγωνισμό αυτό, congratulating Mrs. Ψυχούλη and Κουκουράκη for continuing this Grand Prix after 38 very difficult years without any help from the state. And thanking you for bringing your knowledge and expertise and authority to this competition. To my mind comes a very famous musical, Annie Gets Your Gun, where she says, anything you can do, you can sing, I can sing higher, I can sing louder, but they never say I can sing better. So what chance does a singer, a young singer, have today with the record companies pushing for new stars, desperately searching for new stars, to say no? Following up to what you said, a young singer must often say no. What chance does a singer have now to say no and really develop and mature slowly, wait for 10 years before they take up the heavier roles and such? And when you see the posters for new opera productions, you see the name of the stage director, you see the name of the conductor, the set designer, the light designer, but you don't often see the name of the singer. So, thank you.
Can I say just one quick word about saying yes or saying no to various offers, not only from record companies, but also from various conductors, opera houses, etc. I think that a singer, whether young or even more experienced, can say yes or can say no. Whatever they answer, they must be willing to live with the consequences. And they must be aware of the consequences, of the possible consequences of saying yes or of saying no.
I said no. Yes. I said no to many great conductors at the beginning of my career, when I was still about 25 years old, and I was asked to sing Isolde and Electra and these roles, and I waited, and I still sing a little today. The problem is that the opera, as you say, it is not shrinking, but it is growing, and it's not always growing to the best way, because at the beginning of my career, it was something extraordinary if Covent Garden was doing a production of The Ring by Wagner, and you could only see The Ring in maybe Bayreuth, in Covent Garden, sometimes maybe at the Met, but now have come many opera companies, and for instance in Great Britain, everybody wants to perform these operas, sometimes even with piano, and they are looking for the singers, and they talk the singers into singing roles they shouldn't sing. Because, for instance, not only Covent Garden now does The Ring in Great Britain, but the Scottish opera, the Welsh opera, all of these, even with piano, as I said, then you have all over the world, all of these opera houses, they are all performing The Ring and Elektra and all of these big things, and there have never been and there never will be enough Wotans, Hagens, Brunhildes to sing in all of these places. And so therefore, singers who are not able, they do not have the right voice or the experience or anything else, they are talked into doing these big roles, and this means that they are immediately ruined. I think it is also a great tragedy that teaching of music, the politicians, as you say, Peter, they don't care about music. Money is put into just making money, and we see thousands and thousands of people sitting in football stadiums and the amount of money that is going there. But in the opera, the young people are not being given the opportunity at school to have music, so that they're not introduced to music, and they are subject then to hearing pop music or things like this, but they are not educated to appreciate beautiful classical music.
But all of that is true, but remember, when we were able to choose to say no 50 years ago, it was quite different. Now young people are looking for the opportunity. Some of them will, even with bad advice, take the jobs, hoping that they will somehow get in. But it was respected 50 years ago if you said, no, I cannot do that repertoire now. I don't know, maybe Peter can tell us. I don't mean you, Peter, personally, but generally in the profession, do people still respect if a young person says, I'm not ready for that repertoire now?
I really think it's a little bit of a myth that young singers cannot say no. I mean, there may be some situations when you are, for example, in Germany in a fest contract in a small or medium theater, that you are being overstretched and overpushed. That is a situation that I recognize. But in the international opera world, I do not recognize that at all. Singers need to find out themselves what is right for them, and that is part of the talent. It's not just saying, I'm a talented singer, but I don't know what is right for me to do. You need to know what you can do and what you should do, and then you need to say it loudly. And it doesn't matter if a conductor or producer said, oh, you are my dream, this or that. If you don't know yourself what the characteristics and the limits of your voice are, then you will be in trouble anyway, sooner or later. I think people can say no all the time to us, and it makes them only more interesting in a way.
Yes, perhaps at Covent Garden, but then you have to get there first. And the getting there is where we very often make the mistakes. In the beginning, where we think this won't hurt, or you can do it now, you're young, you can get away with this. We're not giving, the young people are not giving the good advice so that they can arrive to Covent Garden and say, no, I don't want to sing that repertoire now. But you've got to get there.
Well, when I was doing my first Elektra in Cologne, and one of the maids was looking at me with enormous eyes always at what I was doing. And I said, you know, I think it's wonderful that you're so interested to watch what I'm doing. And she said, oh, I'm so lucky to be able to see you. because I now have my first contract to sing in an opera house, and my first role will be Electra. And I said, please do not do it. You need to wait 15 or 20 years until you sing this role. I've never heard of her again.
No.
And also, there was, some years back, there was a case of, I think it was in Linz, a soprano was told by the management that she had to sing, I think it was ΟΠΕΡΑ, and she said, it is something beyond me, I cannot sing it. And they took her to court and sued her. And this is also another... Yes, well, this is unfortunately, some of them, they think they have to do this and they are wrongly advised. But it should be the agents and the managements who take care of the singers, and they should say, no, you must first have experience to do the lyric roles, and you must, before you go into singing. So I also blame the managements for asking them to do this, because it's killing them.
Yeah. Well, also to add more confusion, because everyone's making good points, and the question is unanswerable in a way. To add to the confusion, size of the opera house. In the United States, you have 3,000, 4,000 seat houses singing without microphone, is what we're talking about. That's very different than a 1,000-seat house. And common sense, where your voice is, everything that Gwyneth was saying, of course, is valid. But it does make a difference, the size of the house. It has to
I disagree.
be it. You don't think the size of the house makes a difference?
No. If you have a good technique, if you're singing in a small house or a big house, the voice, you should never force, and the voice should carry if you have a good technique. If you don't, then you shouldn't even try to sing in a small house.
But if you can sing, you may be able to sing, I mean not you, but I mean a singer may be able to sing Salome in Zurich for 1,100 seats, but not at the Metropolitan for 3,500. I mean, I've been in April in New York, I'm not there very often. I was shocked how little I heard, actually. I was sitting in the back of the stores, it was everything so distant, all the voices sounded so small, some sounded dangerously supported by some electronic means,
Exactly.
I have to say.
Which shocks me immensely.
Yeah. But it was not a nice experience at all, because it's all, I mean, it is much nicer to experience opera in a smaller place where you are close, the sound is close, the set is close, the people are close, you can see the faces, and don't you see just sort of little mice running around in the distance. Yeah. Yeah.
Λοιπόν, παρακολουθούμε νομίζω μια πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση σε σχέση με την όπερα. Πάρα πολλά πολύ ενδιαφέροντα σημεία, τα οποία καλό είναι να τα μαθαίνουμε όλοι. Να ρωτήσω αν υπάρχει άλλη ερώτηση.
We have heard very interesting comments and a very intriguing conversation. Would anyone like to add something, or does anyone have any questions? Mr. Lukakos would like to say something.
I would like to thank you for all these opinions, which are, to my mind, complementary one to another. And I would just like to refer to Dame Gwyneth's mentioning of Electra and of her first Electra in Cologne. I might have been a witness of this Electra if it was a 1985 performance series at the Cologne Opera. But I'm always going to keep in my mind the way she sang, acted on stage, which was a quite unique experience. I remember when the performance came to an end, I was wondering whether her body wouldn't be full of marks from the way she gave everything on stage, or she seemed to give everything. That is a point of wisdom of the artist, the way and shows. So it was, I was just
Would anyone like to make another question or say something?
Closing up with ΚΑΛΛΑΣ, and as far as I'm concerned, a very well-known singer, Hungarian, visited ΚΑΛΛΑΣ in Paris and asked her if she should sing Norma. So ΚΑΛΛΑΣ sang at the piano and said, "Let me hear you." And she accompanied the singer. And she said, "I don't think you should sing it yet." And she said, "But I have already signed the contract." And she answered, "Well, they don't waste ΚΑΛΛΑΣ's time by telling her that they have signed the contract. And the advice I just gave you, I've paid for myself." It was Sylvia Sash.
Yes. Λοιπόν, εγώ να σας θυμίσω ότι ο τελικός κύκλος του Grand Prix ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ είναι το Σάββατο 11 του μήνα στις 7 η ώρα στην Εθνική Λυρική Σκηνή, στο Θέατρο Ολύμπια, ότι πρέπει να γίνει κράτηση θέσεων, γιατί οι θέσεις είναι λίγες, μπορώ να πω, για το Grand Prix ΜΑΡΙΑ ΚΑΛΛΑΣ, που έχει συνηθίσει να έχει πολύ μεγάλες αίθουσες για τους ημιτελικούς και τους τελικούς, και να ευχαριστήσω την Εθνική Λυρική Σκηνή που μας έχει βοηθήσει όσο μπορεί και με την προσφορά της ορχήστρας της, αλλά και με μια γενικότερη υποστήριξη.